for taking time out of your schedule to join us for Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce and Forum. I'm Bondy, President of the Chamber. We're very pleased to have candidates to hold the City of Grand Prairie Council races and Grand Prairie Main School District Board of Trustees. This evening, we're going to start with the City Council races. Be about an hour to that, take a small break, and then we'll resume the school board candidates. So this time, if you would stand, remove your hats if you have one. We're going to do a very quick invocation followed by the pledges of allegiance to the United States and Texas flags. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and thank you for this community and the amazing leaders that come together to lead, guide, and advance the cause of Grand Prairie and our citizens and our business community. Be with all the people in this room, that we may continue to do the will of your Son, and always, always think positively and say positive things about our community. In your Son's name we pray.
Amen.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
First question, please have a seat. And at this time, I am going to like to call over to our moderator and vice chair of our legislative affairs committee and Senator Chief of Six Works, Mary Sanders. Mr. Sanders.
Well, the Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce welcomes you to the 2026 City Council and TPISD School Board Candidates Forum. This event will allow the candidates for both Grand Prairie City Council and the Grand Prairie ISD Board of Trustees the opportunity to address the issues that could impact our community. Candidates will give a 3-minute opening statement. In addition, I'll ask questions be drawn out of a handy-dandy bucket, and each candidate will have 2 minutes for a response, and every candidate will answer the same questions. We'll stagger the questions so each candidate has the opportunity of getting to answer first. Now, these questions have been submitted by members of the Chamber and approved by the Chamber's Legislative Affairs Committee. Each candidate will then have 2 minutes for closing remarks. We ask that you maintain a professional and civil tone and demeanor at all times. Name calling, bellowing, besides contested behavior will not be tolerated. Answers should be addressed to the public and not to your opponent. The audience is not allowed to go blind. That's why you asked to. Speak out or show support or lack of support during the forum. Again, we expect civility to rule the day. We also require the audience to remain silent during the forum. We are recording this. This will be available online as well. Tables are available for the candidates, and I see they all up their signs and other collateral materials throughout the evening, so you can go back and get those during the break or at the end of the forum. Earlier, we drew numbers for speaking and seating locations. On behalf of the membership, board of directors of the Grand Prairie Chamber of Commerce, thank you to the candidates for joining us, and thank you to the audience for attending. This forum is also being live streamed on the Faces of Grand Prairie Facebook page. With that, we'll get started. Now, our first question, it turns out, first on the draw was Ms. Georgia Clinton, who is unopposed. So our first question is simply an introduction. Yes, I got you. I'm with you. He's back there to keep me in mind, folks. Is the United States. You have 3 minutes, Georgia, if you will. Give me a statement about your service and why you should continue.
Thank you, Barry. And thank you all. Thank you to the Chamber for allowing us to be here to communicate and to learn more about the candidates and about our great city. Thank you so much. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here. And do I look like the happiest person? There's a reason for that, since I'm unopposed this time. It's such a blessing. I tell you that I don't take that lightly. I'm hoping it sends a message that people are happy with the job that I'm doing. It could send other messages, but I would choose to believe that. I was here 13 years ago for the first time for a forum. And I was here just like some of you who are here for the first time. And 13 years ago has made such a difference. What has happened in our city, to our city, for our city in the past 13 years. It's been remarkable. How do I know what my time is? It's just
Right here, you have 53 seconds.
5. You see that without my life. Now, I'll tell you briefly about my family. My husband, Dad, is here. My husband of 54 and a half years. The good news is we have 3 kids. They're all married. And they've given us 8 beautiful grandkids. And guess what? This last summer, we got our first great grand. And we don't have enough minutes to talk about all of them. What a blessing they are and how I could not do my job well without their support. So I'm forever grateful to them. And what you may not know about me, most people in here, I see your faces that I've known for a long time. But some people I meet newly, and they don't realize that Miss Ruthie Jackson was my mother. And I'm shocked just because I've been here all my life, and I think people automatically know that. But what a blessing I've had to have her as a mentor and mother, and of course my dad as well. So I have 46, so I'm going to move right along. Now I have my own family. I have my city family. I have my church family. I have the chamber family. I have the pickleball family. I love big families. And I love people. I love serving people. I love doing the job that I do, planning again for the fabulous city of Grand Prairie. It's an honor and a privilege to do that. And I promised you those 13 years ago that I would serve you with excellence and integrity. And those are 2 of my favorite words. And I will keep that promise from here on. Thank you, sir, and God bless you.
To Ms. Simpson. Next up, according to our draw, is for Marquita Nemo. We have 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Marquita Nemo, running for Grand Prairie City Council, Place 7. I'm running because I love Grand Prairie and I believe in its future. My family and I have been lifelong residents here. We have built our businesses here, raised our kiddos here, put the great GPISD schools, and for the past 14 years served over 700 families through our childhood. We live out of Circle Prime School, and that is service to both self. That is a Rotarian slogan, and that is also something that we actually put into action in our house. We love serving. We serve Thanksgiving. We serve students in our center by providing tuition for those who are less fortunate. We make it a priority to continue to give back in our center. But as I've been out walking and knocking doors, attending events, I keep hearing the same things from our residents. They want to start heard, they want to be seen, and they don't want to feel left out of the growth that's occurring in our community. So that's one of the reasons why I'm running. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nemo. Next, according to our draw, will be Bessie Adams.
Good afternoon. I have only just a minute. Only 60 seconds in it. Forced to find me, can't refuse it. Didn't seek it, didn't choose it. But it's up to me to use it. I'm going to suffer if I lose it. Give account if I use it. It's just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. And that is by Reverend Dr. Benjamin B. Mays. And that is the standard that I go by because when I think about this poem, one of my favorite poems, it talks about accountability, it talks about transparency, and it talks about productivity. And that is what I live by, that is what I serve by, that is what I want to continue doing. So let me back up and thank all of you all for being here. It is very important that you're here. You're able to see, talk to, and hopefully get some questions answered from the people that want to serve you. I want to thank the Chamber for making this platform possible. And I also want to thank everybody else that's up here with me because they're running to serve. And if they have no heart to serve and a boldness to do so, then that's what they should be doing. But, I don't want to say but to cancel everything else I said. I've chosen Grand Prairie. I didn't grow up here. I wasn't born here. But I chose to be here. I chose this city to raise my family in. 3 children graduated from South Grand Prairie High. I have 2 daughters that are in education, one advocate, the other one actually worked at GDP. She just started here as a biology teacher, and she loves it. My son is a police officer at Willow Park Police Department. All of my children have learned to serve, and that is the standard that we set for them. And as you can see, they're continuing to serve. They started out as both of my daughters are Girl Scout Gold recipients, and my son is a Boy Scout leader. And so that's what we instilled in them. Now, for me, choosing Grand Prairie was I would say, a strategic thought at first. Because coming out of town, we wanted to find somewhere in between, but really didn't know where we're going. And this was a strategic spot. Once I got here, loved it, loved the growth, loved the getting in the middle and the heart of everything, and actually loved seeing how Grand Prairie is growing. So that was the reason I ran in 2023. Since then, I have been put on 5 different committees appointed by our mayor, and to see how intricate the details and the decisions that are made for the city and for you has been just mind-blowing. There are things that I learned my first 3 years that I am not knowing. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I guess we'll talk more.
To that, because our candidates replaced 7. Now we turn our attention to District 3. At this point, I will point out there are 3 names on the ballot. The incumbent, Michael Delbosky, was on to file and run for re-election. Tragically, he passed away a few weeks ago. His name remains on the ballot. The 2 people that are running in that district, we have Sam Timberlake and Dave Chappelle. So if you look at the voters' guide, there are actually 3 names on your ballot, and we have 2 of them here tonight. So by the draw, our first introduction comes from Mr. Chappelle. David? Good evening, everyone.
My name is David Chappelle, no relation to the community. Just a blessing to be here in our community, everyone, for just stepping up to serve and just be out front center in front of everyone, because it is very, very nerve-wracking, but such a blessing at the same time. So I grew up in the DFW area and had the privilege of being able to graduate with a degree in finance and work for Hilltop Securities, a municipal public finance company, where we did a lot of the bond reconstruction for our cities. And so just being in the rooms and watching how a lot of the deal making occurred let me know how many of our cities are being operated. After leaving Hilltop Security, I was able to join my father in a financial services company who head up $1.5 billion in assets under management, go into homes and teach financial literacy. And we have the 4 main center of community, churches, schools, and businesses. And what we do is we go back into the community and teach financial literacy, and be able to help add more wealth to our community. But while serving in that capacity, I tapped into true Grand Prairie as well, just like Bessie did. I'm originally from Cedar Hill, DeSoto, but grew up coming to Grand Prairie and watched the amazing transformation that Grand Prairie went through with Kendrick, and watched all of it grow to 200,000 plus residents. And that to me was a film. That was something I wanted to be a part of and raise my family in. So as soon as I graduated college and was able to start working full time, I bought my first home in Grand Prairie and was able to be a homeowner and understand just the ups and downs of that. To go from renting to home ownership, and being able to discover that as well. The thing about the Grand Prairie is Grand Prairie is on the move and expanding, but there were parts of Grand Prairie, like my district, that was just a little left behind. And for me, there was a lot of complaints that I had to neighbors, and I wanted to be the person that did something about it and had a voice to bring our district to the table, because Grand Prairie is exploding and continuing to explode, and I just love being a part of it. I love being a part of it, and I want to be able to help you change, and being part of the group here that wants to make Grand Prairie a better place. So looking forward to seeing you all.
Thank you, David. Also, so you need an introduction. Also on the ballot, Amber Timberlake.
Leadership, service, advocacy. Hi everyone, thank you for coming today. I'm Emerson Blake, an attorney, a wife, a mom, and your neighbor. And I'm running for Grand Prairie for City Council in District 3. A Dallas native, I ventured to Harvard University for undergrad and returned home to SMU to complete my JD. In my legal career, my goal is to help people and advocate for others. As a former provider, housing or in development, I help victims of housing discrimination fight for their rights to safe, affordable housing. As a strong believer in serving leadership, I started a chapter at Feed the City in 2024, right here in Grand Prairie, to make meals for people in need. And with that program, we've made over 20,000 meals for people in our community. As an attorney, I've gained skills in advocacy that I want to use for my neighbors, giving them a voice in their communities. My platform is working for the Grand Prairie we love, which includes loving our neighborhoods, loving our legacy, and loving our future. Loving our neighborhoods is centered around ensuring that we have clean, safe streets and plenty of green spaces for our children, families, and seniors to enjoy. Loving our legacy, District 3 is one of our more historic districts in Grand Prairie, and protecting that legacy with our seniors are well taken care of and not getting priced out of the neighborhoods that they spent decades building. And for loving our future, we've all seen the tremendous growth in Grand Prairie. The plan is to ensure that we are maintaining a smart growth model while improving the lives of Grand Prairie residents. I'm running for City Council because I believe in the beautiful Grand Prairie, the values and lives of its residents, and the leadership, resilience, and advocacy. I'll ensure District 3 is not left behind.
Thank you very much, Ms. Timberlake. Now that brings us to the questions, which we will get out of the vaunted bucket of questions here. And be sure you don't piece of this. Okay, you're going to pass. We're going to draw out 4 or 5 or 6 questions, depending on how time allows. Candidates will each have 2 minutes per reply. I'm going to randomly draw and then we'll use snake order to decide how we go. So our first question is, let's see, we started with Miss Nemo. So next up will be Mr. Chappelle, then Miss Timberlake, and then Miss Adams. Okay? So we'll start off with the fourth one on there. So our first question to David Chappelle. That question is, what is your position on the city of Grand Prairie using taxpayer funds to develop and operate business ventures, such as hospitality, housing, and other initiatives that may compete with or potentially displace private sector enterprises? Under what circumstances, if any, do you believe that such involvement is appropriate, and how should the city balance public objectives with support for private business? That's a long one. Did you get it off? Yeah. Would you like it out? One more time. Yes, please. No problem. What is your position on the city of Grand Prairie using taxpayer funds to develop and operate business ventures, such as hospitality, housing, or other initiatives that may compete with or potentially displace private sector enterprises? Under what circumstances, if any, do you believe that such involvement is appropriate, and how should the city balance public objectives with support for private business? Yeah, just
Great question. So, when it comes to our private sector, when you look at the city of Grand Prairie and how we have the test with Epic and many of the big organizations that allow us to be able to run our city, the small businesses kind of, in a way, necessarily don't be a part of it, don't get crushed. And so my component would be to, when we have this deals, when we have a lot of large businesses, large corporations having events for small businesses to be a part of it and to be able to have access to whether it's the deal making or whether it's the operation that goes through. And a problem that we also see is that many of the small businesses may feel as if they pushed out from a lot of the private sector. So being able to more so than anything allow us to have the affordability for small businesses to take place and be a part of the bigger picture of Grand Prairie.
Thank you, Mr. Stuff. Ms. Timberlake, ready for me to go again?
Yes.
No problem at all. What is your position on the city of Grand Prairie using taxpayer funds to develop and operate business ventures such as hospitality, housing, or other initiatives that may compete with or potentially displace private sector enterprises? Under what circumstances, if any, do you believe that such involvement is appropriate? And how should the city balance public objectives with support for private business?
Thank you. So that's a very question, actually. When you think about small businesses in Grand Prairie, they are the backbone of our community. You have to balance that with what we actually want our taxpayer money to go towards. We want our taxpayer money to go towards doing things that will benefit our community. But I think those two goals, which may seem dissonant, I feel like they align more than people think. We can use small businesses to help the city initiative. I feel like that kind of working together with small businesses and the city goals is what's going to make our community stronger. Because small businesses will feel like they have a say in what our city is doing, but our taxpayer money is also going towards things that will benefit us as residents. So I think those two, while they seem different, they do balance, and there's definitely ways to make sure that those two goals are aligned.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Millett. Next up is, would you like to repeat? By all means. By the way, Brian, next year we're making a 10-word question. Didn't think this one through very well. What is your position on the city of Grand Prairie using taxpayer funds to develop and operate business ventures such as hospitality and housing and other initiatives that may compete with or potentially displace private sector enterprises? In what circumstances, if any, do you believe that such involvement is appropriate? And how should the city balance public objectives with support for private business?
Nope. You gotta go. Notes as you were talking. So two things I want to talk about first, and this is based on my experience. The city's position is very important in any kind of economic development. One reason is because economic development is housed in the city. That is the hub for innovation. That's the hub for innovation. And so that is a very key component of bringing industries into our city. So I don't think it's going to be so much of a competition, it's an added value because we have tips. I sit on that board. What that does is use taxpayer dollars to incentivize companies, large and small, to come here, to stimulate our economy, to provide jobs for our residents, and also to give back to our community. So that's a very important aspect that a lot of people do not know, that certain areas in our community have been designed to be tipped on. And the city is responsible for helping to negotiate those development agreements to bring big companies as well as small. Two major events that just happened. We have a huge company that's going to come into the south of us over a period of time. We'll be bringing $100 million into the city revenue. What can we do with that? A lot. Police, fire, emergency, roads, blocking out and being used. So that's the use of TIP dollars, which are taxpayer dollars. Another reason I was going to say, other than competing, if we don't have a city with people there competing, who would know about us? We've got to get out there as a city and negotiate, present what the Grand Prairie has to offer. And so that's a very important portion that the city contributes. Now, also, a lot of people are talking about one more thing. Housing and finance board. I was just one of this. Miss Thomas.
Let's give this email on time. And of course, would you like me to read it again?
Yes.
Of course, fine. I was just sick of my voice as my wife is. What is your position on the city of Grand Prairie using taxpayer funds to develop and operate business ventures such as hospitality, housing, or other initiatives that may compete with or potentially displace private sector enterprise? Under what circumstances, if any, do you believe that such a development is appropriate? And how should the city balance public objectives with support for private business? Steve.
Well, I do think that they are using taxpayer funds for events, and to some of the advantage that they can see as wasteful spending. Although it does bring in revenue, I think that we should focus more on using the added values towards fixing our roads and our core services in the community, and giving back to our small businesses. When it comes to the discretionary spending, we have to play a supportive role with our businesses versus just being in competition with them. We have incredible small businesses in Grand Prairie, and I think that they should have first opportunity to participate when these Main Street main fest comes to town and other events come to the city. So I think that if we focus on getting money back to core services and focusing on the residents and what they need, then it won't be such a thing as more competition, but more collaboration.
I'll take us off the longest question ever and take question number 2. I'll be drawing out. On this question, we're going to go Ms. Timberlake, Ms. Adams, Ms. Demo, and Mr. Chappelle is the answering the question. You each get 2 minutes per question. How would you define the roles and responsibilities of an elected official serving on the city of Grand Prairie City Council? Specifically, how should areas such as tourism, economic development, policy implementation, and program management be allocated between city staff and elected officials? And we'll start with Ms. Timberlake. You want to begin? It's 3 paragraphs shorter than the last one. I'm fine. How would you define the roles and responsibilities of an elected official serving on the Grand Prairie City Council? Specifically, how should areas such as tourism, economic development, policy implementation, and program management be allocated between the city staff and elected officials?
So after covering during your short degree, truly the role of city council is to be a voice for our community. So that is listening to what people need and trying our best to implement that in a way that benefits the whole city. As far as the specifics of tourism and the other things that were mentioned, I'm a strong believer in our city government doing what they need to do. So our city employees, they're going to be the ones who are focused on implementing policy that is created by city council. So I think those 2 things are how those will be split. In my book, I guess. So city council is creating the policy based on what our neighbors need, what people need in our community. And our city employees are those who are hands on the ground getting it done. And our role is to support them in that as well. So that's
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Next up on the rotation will be Miss Adams. And I can go again if you like. All right, go.
One of the things I wanted to do in talking about from the first question kind of leads into the second one. And the role of an elected official is to represent you and to set governance and to task a budget for your state revenue. That is it. That is the ultimate job of what we're supposed to do. Now, in addition to that, we need to first listen, make sure that your interests and your voices are heard, and we pass that on to staff. As elected officials, there's nothing we can do without staff. So it's important that we work collaboratively together. And a good example that I'm going to take from the first question was we just passed, this past Tuesday, a small business enterprise, and it is set as an ordinance. Now, council said that, and we put into place an opportunity for small businesses to have a chance to do business with them, giving them 30%. We have a 30% aspirational goal that we set with staff to do business with Grand Prairie businesses. Also, if you are a local business, we've also set up a 10 to 15 month screening. So when you're submitting your RFQs or your RFPs to do business, you have an added advantage. That's something that council has set and voted in place. But Staff has to implement, staff has to check the tracking, make sure that it is small business eligible. And also both staff, elected officials, has to work with the Chamber of Commerce. I look at the Chamber of Commerce as being the hub for both small and large businesses, and that's where the partnership lies.
Outstanding. Thank you, Ms. Addison. See, you found up some extra time. We did good. Let me turn the mic on. We were talking quiet. Next up would be Miss Nemo. Same question. I can repeat it twice. You got it? All right. How would you define the role of responsibilities of elected officials serving on the Grand Prairie City Council? Specifically, how should areas such as tourism, economic development, policy implementation, and program management be allocated between city staff and elected officials?
I bring the same sentiments. City council sets the vision of a policy. Staff is there to carry it out. As a city council member, we're tasked with listening to our constituents, seeing what's prioritized or what's important to them and carrying it up to, bringing it back to council and voting on that. I trust that the right hires have been made to carry out that vision, and the professionals are put in place to make sure that the policies are implemented in that time. So,
Thank you, Ms. Nemo. And back clean up on this question is Mr. Chappelle. Let me go again? Yes. By all means. Even I'm sick of my own voice, folks. How would you define the roles and responsibilities of an elected official serving on the Grand Prairie City Council? Specifically, how should areas such as tourism, economic development, policy implementation, and program management be allocated between city staff and elected officials?
So the role of a city council member, one is to let the city manager and managers do their jobs and allow them to work up a side and be able to cooperate and be able to work as a team. A city council member is the faces of the faces of the city. So you have festivals coming to play, being able to be great promoters, being able to be great liaisons coming into the city and just big representation. And the biggest component of the city council members want to make sure you're reading the numbers, make sure you're reading everything as far as that comes in and understanding the facts, understanding, how does it help Murray, how does it help your constituents? And then you check and see as far as understand the residents and knowing what the residents, what their thoughts are, how they feel. It's not just whoever the loudest is on the mic or the one or two people that speak the most, within whether it's a Facebook group or whether it's just at City Hall, because that's just one or two people. They don't represent the full scope of Grand Prairie or a specific district. So just being able to study the numbers and understand what's coming in, as well as being able to listen to residents and being able to be great partners with city manager and everyone that's sitting on, and being great votes, as we have, many great things right where in the live in that most people in Grand Prairie are just on the way up.
Thank you, Mr. Chappelle. That concludes question 2, which takes us to question 3. Again, with a 2-minute response, our candidates will respond in this order: Adams, Nemo, Chappelle, Timberlake. And our next question for the game is, what, in your opinion, is more important for Grand Prairie right now? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts? And our first one to answer that question will be Ms. Adams.
What's more important is building homes. If I had to make a decision right now, affordable homes really do not exist anymore. They're called workforce housing. And that's air description of it, because there's no cheap home. And so you have to qualify, and it takes most of the time 2 people to qualify for a housing. And so I know a lot of people pay for apartments, but that's an opportunity for someone to live, unless you want your children to live at home with you. Indefinitely. And unfortunately, that's what's happening, because they can't afford houses. And so having an inventory of home, a variety of homes, whether it's for first time owner or someone wanting to step up into a larger home. That inventory is important. And so having and building homes is the most important distinction we can make right now. Now, in building those homes, you do have to consider maybe redevelopment. We have so much land and so much opportunity now to just create, and you don't have to get into the redevelopment arena, but there is some opportunity to redevelop, especially our downtown area. And I know you all are bringing an apartment, downtown apartment, and revitalizing downtown. And so that's another opportunity for hopefully to have some condos at the top. Nothing has been decided yet, but we're looking at definitely townhouses right behind it. And so those are redeveloped areas. But as far as right now, we need to just increase the inventory on it.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Next up will be Ms. Nemo. All right. What, in your opinion, is more important for Grand Prairie right now? Either building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts?
If I had to choose, I would say a little bit of both. We are in housing shortage and with an oversaturated now apartments in Grand Prairie. However, I do think there's something to be said about sustaining what we have as a foundation. A lot of growth has taken place in the southern sector, the north Grand Prairie and central Grand Prairie being left behind. So our residents are feeling left out in the amazing growth that we have in Grand Prairie, and it shows in the infrastructure on the north side of town. So my thought would be to kind of split the shoe and revitalize what we have and give those residents on the north side of town something great and beautiful to look at, versus just having to travel across town to experience that. In addition to that, with the revitalization, we could rehab and revitalize some of the vacant spaces for grocery stores, because that is the food desert on that side of town. That's also becoming a problem. We keep hearing it over and over again that they're having to travel to the next city or across town just to get their basic needs met. And that's not fair to the residents who are also tested in the community.
Thank you, Ms. Nemo. Next up will be Mr. Chappelle. Here we go. I'm going to hit it again for you. You ready?
Thank you.
What, in your opinion, is more important for Grand Prairie right now? Building new homes in commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, or better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts?
I believe a hybrid approach in a way, because at the end of the day, where we have 200,000 plus residents and we're only growing, continuing to expand as a city, and we're wanting to attract a lot more residents, a lot more businesses into the community. So, which means we would definitely need a lot more homes built. And, as district views, you hear about the apartment complexes. But there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of land for new homes, from a owner occupant as well as an investor perspective, right? And then as far as, there are some areas when we look at the commercial space, that is around a lot of these businesses who have been here for decades, who a lot of the infrastructure around some businesses need, to be touched up on. And rather than, revitalize, a lot of, the businesses, homes, infrastructure would be, what I look at as the biggest component in some of our areas in Grand Prairie, because, it doesn't have that some of these, a lot of these corridors don't have to look like epic, but they should look like their best selves. And a lot of the pavements, the streets, a lot of the infrastructure around the buildings are eyesores, or a lot of the part of Grand Prairie or businesses, Lost Road and other parts, that is a problem and something that can be done and we can work on. So for me, it would be a hybrid approach.
Thank you, Mr. Chappelle. Ms. Timberlake, you're back to clean up on this one. What, in your opinion, is more important for Grand Prairie right now? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, and better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts?
So, in answering that question, I just want to think about the homes and apartments that have been built in the last few years. A lot of them are unfortunately not affordable. We have $2,500 two-bedroom apartments and $400,000 townhomes being built. And that's great for the people that can afford it. But I think for most people, using the resources that we have to rehabilitate and rehab our spaces that need it be the first goal. And when it comes to commercial space, I'm a believer that every green space you see does not necessarily need a building on top of it. And that just means you can use that space, but use it for the community. Make it a safe space for people to come and just be together rather than putting another commercial space on it. Because you have a lot of it. So first goal should be revitalizing the buildings and the homes that we have. And the next goal should be making affordable housing in Grand Prairie, not just housing. The affordable part is the most important part.
Thank you, Ms. Timberlake. That wraps up our third question. Moves us on to our fourth question. Again, 2-minute responses. And the order of answering the questions here will be Ms. Demo, Mr. Spell, Ms. Timberlake, and Ms. Adams. And this question, oh, good Lord, it's not long. Here we go. What is your perspective on the city's current budget priorities, particularly regarding expenditures on public events, such as Main Street Festival parades, on the heels of financial challenges in the most recent budget cycle? How would you balance these competing priorities, and what, if any, solutions do you see for improving the city's financial sustainability? And we'll start off with Ms. Nemo.
I think that
Oh, sure, why not? What is your perspective on the city's current budget priorities, particularly regarding expenditures on public events such as Main Street Festival parades, on the heels of financial challenges in the most recent budget cycle? How would you balance these competing priorities, and what, if any, solutions do you see for improving the city's financial sustainability?
One of the things about the events and everything, I know that we want to keep our sense of community in Langford. As a small town, it's important that we continue to have gatherings. But at the same time, the priority needs to be for the city. Our tax rate, that is another thing that people are always complaining about or speaking on. And I know it has remained flat. However, with the increased home values that the city has brought in I think around $8 million in additional revenue. So with that, I feel like it should be prioritized in spending on investing in our small businesses and in more services that our community needs. Additionally, with additional revenue, we also faced shortfalls in not being able to give our staff pay raises this year, the city staff pay raises this year. So I think that the priority needs to be on the basic needs and covering the rising costs in our community and making sure that our staff have the supporting staff or staff that their morale has become low because we're not able to provide raises yet. We're saying we don't have to leave, but we're having all these events. It's not a good list. So I think that prioritizing what the city needs, the community needs, providing residents with more services as far as the roads being fixed, as far as developing retail space and grocery stores that they need, and investing more in mental health services for the community should be prioritized. But that's not having a hospital, that's something that's near here to the hearts of residents. So that's.
Thank you, Ms. Dino. Next up for this question is Mr. Chappelle. Would you like to repeat?
yes, please.
What is your perspective on the city's current budget priorities, particularly regarding expenditures on public events such as Main Street Festival, and parades on the heels of financial challenges in the most recent budget cycle? How would you balance these competing priorities, and what, if any, solutions will you see for improving the city's financial sustainability?
Well, for Grand Prairie events and having a lot of, festivals and that's the attraction of Grand Prairie. And brings a lot of families for vacation who can't afford to travel out to Orlando or to the country or wherever. That's where opening Grand Prairie is an attraction, building up an attraction city. So the attractions are necessary, but we do have to, have more accountability with, as far as the staff and being able to be more clear and accountable on where a lot of the money is going. Within as far as within the budget, we understand the public safety and infrastructure, and Dino kind of spoke on, as the tax rate has been flat for, for 30 years with home valuations going up, consistently, a lot of business owners and residents feel that. And so in their mind, they're looking at, their expenses going up, even though we are seeing the city expand in the track. So it's going to just really take us being able to look at the numbers and being able to figure, clearly identify, as far as where the money, where the money is being spent in an effective manner, and how we're able to move forward with prioritization of infrastructure and public safety as well as the water bits.
Thank you, Mr. Chappelle. Next up is Ms. Timberlake. I know. What is your perspective on the city's current budget priorities, particularly regarding expenditures on public events, such as social events and parades, on the heels of financial challenges in the most recent budget cycle? How would you balance these competing priorities? And what, if any, solutions do you see for improving the city's financial sustainability?
Thank you. So public events have their place, right? They give residents something to look forward to, they build community and give people places and spaces to gather. However, infrastructure projects and projects that bring more tangible benefits to our residents, I believe, should be prioritized over just having fun, which again has its place. But things like fixing our roads and supporting city employees and investing in our communities in ways that affect their everyday lives and not just a fun Saturday of every couple months, I think should be the priority. Should be the balance. Also, I do think that spending our budget as a city does require our civic engagement. As we all know, a lot of election happening at the same time around the ballot. That gives people a voice to decide how the city is going to spend its budget. But most people are not going to come out and vote. That is what we need to do, is get more people involved so that the voices that are heard on election day represent everybody and not just the most engaged person in the city.
Thank you very much, Ms. Timberlake. Ms. Adams, shall I repeat?
Sure.
What is your perspective on the city's current budget priorities, particularly regarding expenditures on public events? Recent budgets. How would you balance these competing priorities, and what, if any, solution do you see for improving the city's financial sustainability?
Well, first, it's definitely a balance, because Grand Prairie does have a balance budget of $536 million. We're sitting on the F&G committee again. It goes before us before it goes to the council. So we make sure that we have a balanced budget. We also make sure that there's a sustainable fund balance, which is basically our savings. And doing so allow us to vary per space. Secondly, a family-friendly city. So when you start talking about family-friendly city, you're going to have festivals. You're going to have parades. Our country's going to be 250 years old. We not want to celebrate that. And so you have a balance of bringing community together with these parades and these social celebrations. And also at the same time, ensuring that the budget is balanced, people are paid, we have increase in staff, and so that is what it takes. It takes both. You just have to balance both, budget, but also a balanced quality of life.
Outstanding. Thank you, Ms. Adams. We have time for one more question and then closing comments. And I will tell you that there are more than one question in here. So, Clinton, it's nothing else to do but make notes over here on the Twitter. If you pick a last question and ask you, please. I'm not making sure we're pleased. There we go. There's two of them. I give you one tap. All right, good enough. Thank you, ma'am. Now, the order on this one is going to go Mr. Chappelle, Ms. Timberlake, Ms. Adams, then Ms. Nemo. And so to start us off, this question is, how would you go about working with council and staff to make Grand Prairie a more business-friendly city? Short and sweet. And the first one to answer that question will be Mr. Chappelle.
We would have just a meeting, have a meeting and be able to discuss the numbers, have a conversation over the expectation, the current budget, and just be more so aligned into what our goals are going through 2026. And so more than just a being able to meet with everyone to be able to discuss about just our goals.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Ms. Timberlake, what you're doing? Outstanding. How would you go about working with council and staff to make Grand Prairie a more business-friendly city?
Okay. So, talking to some small business owners in our community, I've been listening to their concerns, and they feel like they can't compete with big businesses when it comes to city contracts or even just, prime space in the city to build their businesses. So I believe working with small business owners and taking in their concerns and implementing ideas that will help them to compete better with bigger businesses. So whether that's giving them the first crack at, the first crack at competition, that will help them to compete better and, flourish as a small business. And I think that is kind of
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Next up, Ms. Adams. How would you go about working with council and staff to make Grand Prairie a more business-friendly city?
Having worked with council and I want to repeat one of the things that just took place this past Tuesday. We just put an ordinance in place that establish and will undergird small businesses through our small business enterprise. We just voted on that Tuesday. And the ordinance, which means it has to be enforced. So we're giving small businesses an opportunity to do business with the district, with the city by a program called Access. And I want to make sure I'm reading it right. So it's advanced contracts, community engagement, and supplier success. So what that means is going to be a program that's going to reach out to small businesses, going to show them how to do business with Grand Prairie. I'm going to talk to them about bonding, talk to them about passing, talk to them about insurance. All of those things are needed to do business with the city. And in doing so, once they're ready to do business, we will have a broader supply chain so that we can select, or so the city can select, which is why we're asking for and have established a 30% aspirational goal from council, have established that for staff to make sure that 30% of our city business will be done with small business. And in addition to that, again, just past Hall Press Tuesday, is that if you are a local owned business, you have a 10 to 15 point spread. So again, when you submit all your information and you're bidding for those RFQs and RFPs, you as a locally owned small business in Grand Prairie will receive anywhere from 10 to 15 points over any other competition. And that is how we grow small business in Grand Prairie. And that is what we do to encourage small business.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. See, I told you worked it in. Just do core questions again. Our last answer on this will be Ms. Nemo. How would you go about working with council and staff to make Grand Prairie a more business-friendly city?
Setting up meetings and having a dialogue with the community business leaders as well as the city staff who are in the trenches and see the budgets and know the numbers. Also, I'm working with city staff in terms of streamlining processes. As a small business in Grand Prairie, I can speak to how difficult it was when we opened our first location for the daycare, dealing with fire staff, environmental services staff, and the different entities within the city to get things done. It can be quite confusing and overwhelming initially. So streamlining those processes and having a roadmap, so to speak, for businesses once they come into Grand Prairie. I think the program sounds like it's going to be great. So with that being said, setting up the meetings, having a roadmap and having a program such as us in place, will help you justify it.
Thank you, Ms. Nemo. And with that, that's going to wrap up our questions out of the bucket. But we do have a 2-minute closing remark. Each of the candidates can tell us what you, the voters, need to know before you go to the polls. And in this order, we'll go with Ms. Timberlake, Ms. Adams, Ms. Willow, and Mr. Chappelle. Ms. Timberlake, if you'll start us off. I didn't read the question, so I don't have to repeat anything.
So again, thank you all for coming. Thank you to the chamber for inviting me here. My family and I moved to Grand Prairie 3 years ago, and the city has embraced us. And by running for city council, I'm trying to continue to do my part to make a positive impact in our future city. And that, is by working for the Grand Prairie we love, because I love our neighborhoods, I love our legacy, and I love the future that we can have here in Grand Prairie. And I've dedicated to making sure that we get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Timberlake. Next up, Ms. Adams.
Well, first of all, I just want to say our priorities have always been faith, family, and community. And if you get those priorities out there, then you're going to run into problems. And so I have a strong faith in what God has purposed me to do at a point in time. I appreciate my husband in the back. He's the best fireman you ever had. And that's why I love Grand Prairie, because it is family oriented and family friendly. And this community is just full of and what I can do to advance our economics, advance our quality of life, advance your experience living in Grand Prairie is what I do and what I will do. And so I started this with a point about a minute. So TikTok, we only have a minute. And do you want someone that will learn the job and probably grasp the job? Or do you want somebody ready to go right now? You are sitting here interviewing us. So this was a business. If this was your business, I want you to pick the best qualified, the best experience, and the best person that has the skill set to meet your need. And I feel that I am. I am the current councilwoman, Bessie Adams, at large, place 7, and I'm asking your vote to continue to work. So let's get into it.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. This takes us to Ms. Nemo, and you have 2 minutes for closing remarks.
As we close tonight, I just want to thank you guys for coming out and spending your time getting to know all of us as candidates. And I just want to bring to the forefront of everybody's mind the stress about the county. The people that we serve, the people that their needs and wants in this community, and us acting it out as best as we can. I do bring the experience as a business owner, as a resident who lives here in Grand Prairie, and as someone that wants to see the city thrive and will see the city thrive. And I thank you guys for your time. And we go to the polls. I hope that you find Nemo on your ballot.
Thank you, Ms. Nemo. Wrapping us up, closing remarks, Mr. Chappelle.
Thank you. I recognize that the people of District 3 are not asking for anything extraordinary. You want your streets maintained. You want to feel safe in your neighborhood. You want to know that when we show up to a city council meeting, or when you can't because you're working a second job, that some of us will still find you. District 3 is one of the most diverse communities in this entire region. We have families who have been here for generations and families who just arrived. We have homeowners and renters. We have people working in warehouses on I-20 and people running small businesses on Carrier Parkway. We speak different languages and come from different backgrounds, but we share the same zip codes and we deserve the same quality representation. And I thank everyone for coming out and just supporting. But again, I showed up Grand Prairie because of what I saw. And what I saw was a city that was expanding. So I want to bring my things. Like Michael's here to be a VP and to be able to be someone that is part of the change and part of the help and growing towards something amazing. And so I pray you guys will be able to support, and I'll be referring to vote. And we will be able to be part of this change and grow everything.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the candidates for being out here tonight. Today's discussion. I'm going to excuse the city council candidates. We're going to take a 5-minute comfort break to restage the room and get ready for the school board portion. Thank you.